In this demonstration, we're going to look at initiating inventory collection on a client. So in an earlier demo, what we did is we set up Config Manager to actually read the WMI database on our client devices and then take that information and then commit that information to the Config Manager database. So we're going to have a look at initiating hardware inventory on the client. We'll have a look at then how we actually read that data. Now what I've done is I've logged into my client device, and on my client device I've come into Control Panel, and within Control Panel I've got the System and Security, and then what I'm doing is I'm just running the Config Manager client. Once we get into the Config Manager client, we'll just come to the Actions pane, and then what we're going to do is we're just going to do a machine policy retrieval and evaluation cycle to download the policy we just modified. So we'll run that now. We'll select OK. It's saying it's going to take several minutes, so let's just go into File Explorer. And then within File Explorer, let's just go to our C drive. And on our C drive, what we'll do is we'll just come into our IT tools. I'm just going to launch up CM Trace. And what we're going to do with CM Trace is we're just going to open up a couple of log files, or well, one log file to start with. So we'll just come to C:, Windows. And within Windows, what we'll do is we'll come to the SCCM folder. We'll go to our logs folder. And then in the logs folder, all we'll do is we'll scroll this down and we're just looking for the policy agent. So if we look at the policy agent.log file, and all we're looking for at this point here is if we scroll this down, so we can see we've requested the machine policy. So it has been requested. So we're just waiting for this policy to occur. Once we've run through this policy, the next thing we'll do is we'll then do our hardware inventory scan. So what we can see at this point here, we haven't received any changes. To be fair, I did set up the hardware inventory policy about 20-30 minutes ago, so at this point here I would have expected it already been downloaded, but we can see it has run through that machine policy retrieval. So we'll just close down our CM Trace utility. Then what we'll do is we'll just come back to our configuration manager properties, and what we'll do at this point here is we'll now do our hardware inventory cycle. And we'll run this against the device. Again, it's going to say it's going to take several minutes for this to finish, so we'll just select OK at this point here. And we'll select OK, we don't need to do anything else in there. We'll just come back into CM Trace again. So if we just come back into our IT tools, just go back to CM Trace, and again just open up our log files. So all we're going to have a look at here is we're just going to have a look to see if the hardware inventory has actually occurred. So we'll look at the inventory agent.log file. And what we can see, if we scroll this down now, we can see it is actually doing the query against my device. Don't worry about the network access protection, it doesn't exist, but as we can see, it is actually collecting information from this device. So it's all being collected now. So what we'll do at this point here is we'll just pause presentation just while the data is being collected. So the data is being collected. The stuff that failed is because it doesn't exist, so we can't collect something that doesn't exist. So we have now collected that data. So now what we'll do is we'll just go to our Config Manager server and we'll just read that data. So here I am in my Config Manager console. What we're going to do at this point here is just come to Assets and Compliance. Within Assets and Compliance, I'm just going to come to Devices. And within Devices, what we're going to do is we're going to go for LonCL1. We'll then right click on LonCL1, we'll click our Start button, and then what we'll do is we'll just look at Resource Explorer. Within Resource Explorer, what we have is we have our Hardware tab. If we expand up our Hardware tab, what we can see at this point here is we've got all of the hardware information. We've got the 2 bits of information that I specified in the previous demo when we extended the hardware inventory. So if we expand up the crosses or click on the actual component itself, we can see that currently BitLocker is turned off. If we just look at operating system, we can see we've got Windows 10 Enterprise. So we'll close that down. Another way to read the information is to actually use reports. So if I just come to my monitoring workspace, if we just come into our reporting node, go to our reports node and expand up the triangle, what we'll see is we'll see a lot of folders, and if we scroll this down a bit, what we will see is we can see we have hardware disk, hardware CD-ROM, etc. So let's just go for hardware disk. And then what we can see at this point here is we can see reports relating to computers with specific hard disks, computers with low free disk space, and so on. So what we could do is we could run a report and we could get information about the devices that collect the hardware inventory based off the reports that we specify. And that's the end of this demonstration of initiating and reading the results of a hardware inventory.